This is Pete Moore on Halo Talks NYC on location, San Diego, with my new friend, Chris Patton, VP of Wellness Solutions for PeerFit, which is a company you may not know about, but by the end of the next 20 minutes, you will know plenty about. And then you can send me an email and I'll set you up with Chris, and you guys can roll into some of the programs that are desperately needed to get more and more healthcare companies to know that we are the solution. You are the provider, and you are the ones that are going to get people results. So, Chris, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. So, I got a lot of family down in South Florida. There's a lot of interesting companies that are coming out of South Florida.
Yeah.
I'd say probably more than there used to be. So, why don't you give your personal background, and then also, give us a little bit of summary on PeerFit, and then we can talk a little bit about the business model.
Yeah, for sure. So, as far as my fitness journey, my fitness background, it started in Gainesville, Florida, at Gainesville Health and Fitness, which I've been able to see a lot of those familiar faces here at URSA. It's its own factory for churning out talent. So that's where I started at 20 years of age, and it was an amazing place to start, not just a career, but also within the fitness industry, and really setting the bar very high on what I found to be acceptable, not just in a workplace, but as far as a fitness establishment. So, Joe Cerulli, Sean Stewart, all those folks made a huge impact on me from very early on.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing how in this industry there are names of people who you'd say, like, yeah, I work for this guy or work for this woman, and at the end of the day, it's like, no, they weren't like my employer. They were like my mentor. And like what they did, I almost was like doing an apprenticeship type of platform in this industry, which is awesome. I got into it, after doing banking, and you got into it directly from college. So how did you get to the point where you're working at the club? What was your role there, and then what kind of gave you, I guess, one, the confidence, two, to say like, all right, I'm going to embrace a technology company, and I'm going to kind of move, elevate kind of where you were, or like move to like a full adjacency of like a sector part of the healthcare industry? Yeah,
so with working at Gainesville Fitness, working under Sean Stewart, that's what really gave me a lot of my confidence. He taught us very well, and really, I think, gave us a skill set. When I say us, I mean a lot of folks that worked under him, and as far as helping us be successful managers and leaders. So that was applicable for any industry. And having worked there for over 4 years, I was there as the fitness director for a few years within that time frame. After having spent that time there, it was kind of ready to move on into something else, and I got the chance to go to Charlotte, North Carolina, and open and run a boutique fitness studio there in downtown, or also known as Uptown if you're from that area.
Okay.
And then went to the substance abuse arena actually for a few years, and that after a couple of years I was good on that, and I got reconnected with Ed Buckley. He's the PeerFit CEO, and he actually used to be one of my employees at Gainesville Health and Fitness. Yeah, so treat your employees well, because they may hire you.
Right.
And
treat everyone well.
So this was 3.5 years ago, and PeerFit was much smaller then, so it was definitely a risk, but PeerFit checked all the boxes, and I was at a point in my life where I could easily take that risk. Right. And it's worked out well, to say the least. At that time, I believe we had 8 employees, so it was much riskier for Ed and the other folks that were already on that team at the time. And now we're about 100 employs.
It's amazing.
Spread across the nation. Yeah,
and how's that working from a standpoint of, are you guys on Slack all the time? Are you on Zoom? Or how do you feel about that?
Slack, the G Suite, we use a lot of Google Hangouts. We've been able to scale that culture as we've grown, and there's some certain things within our company that we don't take for granted when it comes to being a remote company.
Right.
But it's allowed us to bring really the best talent possible versus, not that there's anything wrong with Tampa. Tampa's been, is our hometown.
There's a corporate team in office there.
We have no office.
There's no office, so it's really virtual.
Well, we have a small co-working space at a place called Armature Works.
Does somebody show up there once a month?
I think the accounting team
does
fine.
That's fine. You're not virtual then. You got a real zip code and so on.
Yeah, we definitely have a zip code.
All right, that's cool. So look, I'm from New York City, and I've obviously been exposed to all the different potential models, and whether it's ClassPass, Fit Reserve, the Expedia of whatever that comes into my, who knows? Like I got to pay a minute per dollar to go into some club. I don't know what it is. So anyway, tell me how PeerFit came about and how it's differentiated from, some of the other services out there and why it's grown so quickly.
Yeah, I mean, we started as a direct-to-consumer company as well, and quickly saw the opportunity to pivot away from that with corporate wellness. It's a little easier said than done. It's taken some time for us to have learned the space, both seeing that employers were interested in this, and then understanding how insurance brokers were involved, and then getting aligned with the carriers. And a lot of that's bringing the right people onto the team at the right time.
Right.
And over these past few years, it's allowed us to get connected with these carriers and brokers, and then slowly get baked in with some of them as well. Because, like you mentioned at the very beginning of this, we really see fitness as that best preventative medicine.
Sure.
But when it comes to how these carriers and employers have historically spent these dollars on fitness, a lot of it just gets wasted. And ROI is kind of a touchy subject, and that's where we feel like we're really helping crack the code on that.
So are you out there negotiating deals with the clubs and with the studios, and then also then going to the insurance companies and basically saying, okay, look, here's the negotiated rates, and we're going to draw down or drip down these employee discounted memberships, and you're only going to pay if that person actually shows up, and you got the technology web to basically show someone that they're not getting taken advantage of?
Yeah, on the fitness side of things with our fitness partners, we're out there building those relationships, working to find out what's the reimbursement rate that works for them.
Right.
That's obviously important. And then on the enterprise sales side of things, most definitely, we're helping them see that they've been wasting a lot of money, not that they don't know that,
Right.
but from the engagement factor, that's what our business model is really built around. So that's an important piece when it comes to them knowing that they're only paying for the folks that are really only active.
Yeah, sure. I mean, it makes a ton of sense. And then, the thing that irks me the most is when I see these commercials on television, and it's like 30 seconds about the benefits, and then, but you're going to have, bleeding, you're going to have, suicidal tendencies. And I'd rather have the first thing and then not medicate that with what I'm going to feel. But also, the fact that, 6 to 8 to 10 weeks in a health club is going to dramatically change your life, or any kind of real, even moderate physical activity at that point, versus going on these drugs. So it should be before you get one of these Trulicities, you have a mandatory 8-week boot camp that your insurance company will pay for.
I don't know if that's a real drug, but it sounds like a role.
It is. It's called Trulicity. Okay. Yeah, they got some heavy-set guy walking around in a sweater vest, to cover up his gut. It's dude, go to the gym, before. So I want to go to do Gym versus Drugs, sponsored by the PeerFit network, something like that, dude.
Well, and it's not just the fitness aspect. When you think about PeerFit, right, it's the peer-to-peer aspect. So we push a lot of that within the workplace,
Right.
getting these people to go together. And that's something that we learned when we decided that we were going to get to the Medicare space, is how loneliness, when it comes to that age population, is such a huge contributor to their health or their lack of health. So
that's why, that's one of the reasons when we first connected, I was like, I don't know what we're going to do together. We'll figure it out, down the road, but let's get to know each other, because several years ago, we were trying to figure out a way to solve loneliness. And, part of it is making sure people are accountable, getting them to actually walk out of their apartment together and go somewhere. And a lot of the personal training industry over the last 30 years has been I don't necessarily need a trainer. I actually just need to have a reservation and an appointment that is hard for me to cancel, because that person is going to be mad at me, because I've given them that authority to either help me or make me feel bad that I'm canceling a PT session.
Yeah, so. And when we started, it was really more so focused on boutique fitness, right, and just classes. Now we have gyms and you can do memberships, all that good stuff. But the reason for that was that accountability system, right? In every group of friends, there's usually that one person that helps kind of coordinate everything and get somebody going to the workout. So that was a big piece of where our initial focus was, and we've been able to carry that thought process forward.
Gotcha. All right, so talk about what so if I'm a club, and you call, or one of your virtual all-stars, that doesn't matter where they are, if they call and say, hey, I want implement PeerFit, tell us exactly what happens and what that process is and what the revenue opportunity is and how it's supported and so on and so forth.
Yeah, so as far as setting it up, it's pretty straightforward. The elephant in the room is usually what's the reimbursement rate? And we figure out one that works for both parties, right? Considering we're helping drive these dollars that otherwise are very, very hard for studios and gyms to access.
Right.
So we figured that out, and then we get them set up on our back end system and get them hosted onto the PeerFit network. That way, if there's anybody around them that has these PeerFit credits from their carrier to spend, they can do that with ease.
Right.
And in that regard, it's not very time consuming. And the value add part for them is, at the end of the day, we're doing something that's going to be very hard for them to do, which is make that connection to the insurance carrier. Gyms and studios are very good at what they do. Dealing with insurance carriers is probably not in the top 5 of that list, and luckily that's something that we're building a lot of great experience with.
Got it. So what does the gyms expect? What kind of traffic reports are you providing? What kind of revenue, just like as an order of magnitude, is coming through? And then how do you help them implement these programs? Because you're not just sending them people, they're also like a party to the marketing of it as well.
Yeah, so it really depends how involved they want to be. We do things like provide them with a digital asset kit so they can promote their partnership with PeerFit as well.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, one thing we really believe in is allowing ourselves as PeerFit to be somewhat agnostic to the fitness partners we have in our network, because
there's no exclusivity,
exactly,
territory rights, right?
We felt like that's where a lot of
it's like the silver sneakers,
failed.
right? There's like basically creating like exclusive regions and then trying to fill that.
Yeah, because
play people off each other. Not everyone benefits.
That just hurts engagement at the end of the day.
Right,
because if you're telling your employees where they can work out, like, hey, we have a discount at this place, guess what? Most of them aren't going to use it. Versus that employee getting to make that more intimate decision on where they want to work out. Now they're going to get engaged because they can go to that place that they love, versus the one that the employer's hoping they love.
That's good. So how many locations are you in now?
We have almost 4,300 locations right now that are already working with PeerFit.
Okay.
And by the end of this year, definitely expect that number to be much higher, thanks to some of the partnerships we have going on.
Got it. And then do you envision this being a company that goes into what's the next layer? We've got 4,300 locations now. We continue to increase that. What are the customers or clients that you have on the insurance company? Like, if you're not allowed to name names, but like what levels of materiality are you getting to? So
we are baked in on one of Aetna's policies. And by that means all those folks that get that specific policy, they get a certain amount of credits every month, just straight up subsidized, that they can spend wherever they want. So doing more of that's really important for us. So that way we instead of working with each and every individual employer, we can just get straight baked in with the insurance carriers. So doing more of that is very important for us. And there's obviously a fair amount of carriers out there to work with, because our goal at the end of the day is to redefine corporate wellness on that front with our core product. And
are you in each one of these corporate portals? Are you guys actually? Do they go to the PeerFit site? Do they go to like a private label, white label? Is a PeerFit name like readily in front of everyone, or
it's PeerFit?
It is.
Yeah,
okay, good.
And that helps, because not just from them recognizing PeerFit, but because what we're really focused on is driving engagement. That's a lot of how we get paid. So that's not necessarily what the insurance carriers are great at. So that's one thing they're really trusting us with, is to get these lives engaged.
Gotcha. So why don't you give just a couple minute commentary here before we close on your personal journey. Maybe some quotes that you live by, or like, some disciplines that you, have found that have made you successful in kind of starting in the industry as, somewhat of an apprentice, which is awesome, which is the best way to learn something, to the point where now you can talk the talk because you've had these experiences, that you're not trying to, convince someone. Let me tell you what happens inside of a health club, or let me tell you like the process or the right people that we have to influence, because you've been there, how the behavior and the hierarchy and the systems work. So, maybe a couple of life lessons in the short period of time you've been in the industry, and then, some management quotes or whatever, like, kind of motivate you.
Yeah, in my mind, they're kind of one and the same, because where I feel like some just doesn't have to be fitness businesses, but businesses in general that fail, whether it's a yoga studio or a big health club, are some of the basics. That's what we see with our users that go to these places. And when I think back to Gainesville and Fitness,
yep,
and the experience that I still say we. I haven't been there since 2011.
No, right? It's awesome.
The experience that we provided and they still provide, that's what really matters. That when they walk in, when that person walks in, they feel special. They feel recognized. Doesn't matter how many you have. I think they have 28,000 members still. So, having that as a baseline for what I thought was appropriate when it comes to running a business is huge when you deal with your relationships and your customers and your users. Right. And we have a great team in PeerFit that helps handle that as well. So, and then two quotes that my team is probably going to laugh at me because they hear me say this all the time. Is people respect what you inspect. That's one of them that I had told me one time, and basically it just comes to that.
Respect what you inspect.
Yeah, so that consistency with what you look over, right, and that accountability is really important, not just for your own team, but for what you expect of your business at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And then the other one, you can't manage what you don't measure. So having certain data points that you look at and you consistently look at to when it comes to KPIs for your team, those are two things that I feel like are very important.
I'm sure this is something that, since you're in the industry, this will never change in your mind. But when people come to me and they tell me what the data says, and it's an operation that you can actually talk to the customers or the members, it's like, okay, I see what the data said. But there's only like a couple hundred members. Like, tell me exactly what they said. Like, I don't want to see a number. I want to see I want to hear it. And if I can hear it, then I can digest it and I can respond to it. I can put myself in their shoes. I feel like sometimes people have gone a little bit further astray and said, this is what the data says. This is what it's like, okay, you got to do that. But also get into the club, talk to people, get into your team, talk to them. And that's where you figure out how to really run a business.
Yeah, I like to say too, the data tells a story, but it doesn't tell the entire book, right?
Yeah.
So it helps you get an idea of what's going on, but then you got to start doing some digging and see, is this really telling me what I think it's telling me?
Yeah, and what does it mean, and then validate what it means by actually going down to that point. So, well, look, I'm excited that we got connected. Let's hopefully be helpful here in the near term, and then longer term, make sure we get more and more clubs and fitness studios on board. And one of our missions, I think we got it on this sheet I'm going to show you here. I think it's on the other side of this. Let me see. The end of our, we want to try and, here we go. The pledge at the end. We'll work to reduce obesity, diabetes, and feelings of loneliness. So
it's almost like I was reading the card.
Yeah, it's like I appreciate the prep work you did on the card for the Halo pledge. So look, we are going to be helpful to PeerFit, and likewise when we're accomplishing big things. And I think everyone's got to realize that it's one person at a time, one phone call, one relationship, one activation, and then somebody to peer up with somebody and make sure they actually do the work and get in the gym. So thanks, and look forward to working with you going forward here, buddy.
Awesome. Thanks for the opportunity to chat.
Cool, buddy.